Welcome to Bloodbath and Beyond. Today we review Streets of Vengeance. They lust for Mila, but she lusts for revenge.
Directed by Paul Ragsdale, starring Delawna McKinney, Iava To'omata, Paige Le Ney, and Daniel James Moody. This movie's about Mila, an ex-adult film actress who's attacked by a misogynistic cult known as the Sword. So she gathers up her minions and seeks vengeance on the streets. So what do we like? I like the aesthetic. I thought it had like a really classic vibe. I mean, this is a very low budget film. It's worth noting right off the bat. This is a throwback to like 80s revenge movies, very exploitation-like with lots of pinks and purple lights and stuff all over the place. I thought it nailed that aspect. It also had like touches of giallo where it had like guys in black gloves with switchblades and very, very sharp like Dario Argento style lighting.
Also on top of that was the soundtrack. This film had a really good score that played along to the aesthetics of the movie.
It also worked because there are long shots of Mila just kind of like hanging out by herself, and as her hair's blowing in the wind and you have like a sunset in the background, you have deep 80s synth, and it just, you feel like you're in that same atmosphere, like you're watching an 80s movie.
I liked the kills in this film. At first, I thought it was just gonna be the same style, but then near the end, they really up their game. Like the final showdown has some very interesting kills in it. And not everything is on screen, but the stuff that you do see, I appreciated.
I also appreciated all of the gorgeous ladies in this movie. Every woman in this movie is gorgeous and very scantily clad, sometimes nude. Lots of butts, lots of dances. Shout out to Joanna Angel. Don't know why her scene was in the movie because it didn't make any sense, but I liked her.
We also have some fun characters in this film. Brian is our good guy. I really enjoyed his motivation and just like why he was there. He was just a genuine nice guy. But the best character in this film has to be Rico. I think Rico's the most entertaining, both like looks and personality.
Think you could take me?
I don't want to fight you.
I'll disagree. I think Brian is the best personality because he was just hilarious. But Delawna McKinney, who played Mila, did a great job. She was badass, she looked great, and you could really like get into her character so you understood why she wanted to take vengeance to the streets and kill a bunch of assholes. Now, what didn't we like?
I wasn't a fan of the pacing of this movie. It was just very slow off the start, so it was hard for me to really want to get into this film. It picked up near the end, which was nice, but for a film that's almost 2 hours, about 40 minutes of it, I just wasn't interested at all.
If they almost did like a hard cut on the first 40 minutes, you probably wouldn't need it. There are also a lot of long scenes in this movie where they just hold shots or they just have like a crazy amount of different angles on a very specific setup. Maybe it's just like a girl standing there and you got 80 different shots and it's 3 seconds a shot. Well, that shit adds up and that's what tacks on 40 minutes to a movie. And I can appreciate that they were trying to do that that whole 80s thing, because if you look back at some 80s like action movies, like you're gonna get that. But length of this movie, I don't think is gonna play well with a lot of audiences.
In like a revenge style of movie, what you're supposed to do is have character-driven motives. And the problem is we're seeing this mystery killer for the first half of the movie and we're kind of getting to know our protagonist, but we're getting to know the protagonist not for being someone to seek vengeance, but just who she is. And as people are dying around her that, yes, work in the same industry as her, they're not really related in any way. So it's not like fuel to the fire of her vengeance.
She is a adult film star and a self-described feminist.
I don't need to be a feminist to hate guys that are killing people. And that was like her driving motive. In revenge movies, usually it's like, okay, this person has grown up with hardship. She's had a terrible life and bad things have happened to her in the past that have driven her to a breaking point, and that's where she snaps. And this movie doesn't really have that. It's like, no, a lot of other people have had some shitty lives and she's just kind of watching them and then she snaps. and I don't think it really hit the tones that it was supposed to.
I really did appreciate the throwback charm in this film. I mean, the way it started off, Stacey Monroe, fantastic. I absolutely love that. And I thought it was cool how they were doing you're watching it as though it's like a TV special.
So put on your shades and kick some beach balls and get ready to go all night long.
And then we don't see this at all until the climax of the movie. And I felt if they were gonna do this, there should have been more commercial breaks. They really could have broken this up. And that probably could have helped with the pacing and the feel of this being a TV special.
I've never watched TV for an hour and a half before a commercial break. I fucking wish, but that isn't reality. We didn't mention that in our likes, but I think I really like the tough guys moment. But yeah, if you only have one commercial break, then you may as well not have any, to be honest. And since we know they're going for that 80s look, then they should have definitely had some grain or tracking or anything to kind of disrupt the footage in any way, aside from a few flickering frames here and there. Now it's time for our final thoughts and ratings. Streets of Vengeance was a pretty good attempt at an 80s throwback. I think they captured a lot of the charm from the shot types and lighting to the very 80s soundtrack. And we had some really enjoyable characters. Unfortunately, the film suffers from a huge pacing issue because about 40 minutes of the movie is almost unnecessary and doesn't really help drive Mila's motivation to exact revenge. When a movie's long, it needs to be long for a reason. Unfortunately, it didn't seem like it was. But as we got to the climax, I think there's potential for a sequel. So I'm gonna give this 2.5 5-minute strip teases out of 5.
This film did a really good job nailing its aesthetics. I enjoyed the soundtrack and I enjoyed our characters. The thing that it lacked in was it didn't feel like a vengeance movie for me. The motivations were established way too late. The pacing was very, very slow. And I found the film to be a little boring. I did enjoy the final arc, and I think the showdown that you get between the two groups is very entertaining, and a lot of people are probably gonna like it, especially because of the kills. But if you had to scrub through about 40, 50 minutes of a 2-hour film just to enjoy a couple of kills, it's hard to recommend. So with that being said, I'm gonna have to give this film 2 very sexy tan lines out of 5.
As always, thank you for watching. Like this video and comment below with your thoughts on the film if you've seen it. If you haven't and you do want to check it out, there are links in the description where you can find it. And if this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe to the channel to stay updated with everything Bloodbath and beyond.